Hey everyone, welcome to the Mastering SQL module. So I would be your course instructor for this Mastering SQL module, and a little introduction about me. My name is Abhijit Singh, and I have worked in Fire, which became India's largest, fastest unicorn in India. Then I have also contributed into most of the open sources code, and I have been into most of the open source program like GSOC and Summer of Bitcoin. And in this course or in this module, I want to teach you how to master SQL. So first thing what we are going to look at is the introduction. So we are going to look at what we are going to look going through this module. Why to learn SQL? Then we are going to look at the SQL scopes and how you could master SQL in data science, and what are the challenges would be in this course, like what challenges do we need to follow. And after this introduction lecture, we are going to look at how to install SQL. This would be a simple one, so it won't take too much time, but then we are going to dive deep into the database. What do you mean by database? So we will look into it. We will look SQL versus no SQL. Then we are going to look at DML, DCL, DDL commands. What are those? Then we are going to look at what is atomicity and what is ACID. And then we are going to look at SQL in system design, which is very important. So if you are into the interview, there might be chance that uh, like most of the chance they ask SQL in system design. So you want to design a database, and they will ask like, okay, you have to create a database, but suppose those database needs to be some remote server, it's other part of the location. How would you update those database, and how you could like have secure database? Suppose that database uh, gone down, how that database server is down, how would you recover those? What is the backup, and how do we do backup? So that we are going to look into those, and or secret tips and tricks, we are going to look at those in the intro to database module. After this, we are going to look at basic SQL command. So basically it's a crude command. If you are from front end development, you know what is crude is. Basically it's create, retrieve, update and delete, and the name suggests itself what it does. So basically create means to create a database, select means to like select, and update means you need to update, delete you need to, once the record it's deleted, and retrieve means you need to get those data. So we use group by commands, all having by commands, that we are going to look at in those. But basically these create, select, update, delete are the most commonly used, and in those we are also going to have group by, having, have by, those command into those basic SQL commands. And then we are going to look at coding question for each selection, each section go through. So each create, once we use create, once we are into the uh, create command, we will look onto some coding question like, okay, how do you use in real life? So once, and in the end of the section, we are going to have some 3 to 4 coding interview question from different websites we are going to look at, and how do you approach those questions we are going to look at. After those, we are going to move on to the advanced SQL statement. So basically advanced SQL statement contains join statement, rank, uh, left join, right join, full join, those statement, and how do you create a rank, how to use those ranks. And then we are going to go through the coding questions through each section. We are going to look at like coding question related to each topic. This would be very much important because in interview most of the chances are there that there are some questions that are related to SQL. So once you are comfortable with those, we are going to look at how do we connect database, those SQL database with Python. And once we are like very ease with it, very familiar with it, we are going to take a step notch, and then we are going to uh, do some data analysis on some database and taking those data, and then we are going to do those data analysis from those database and through using Python. Then we are going to look at how you could use R language to do the same. And you know that to master SQL you need to know Python and R masterclass, know GitHub, and these course module are already up there. So I hope you have gone through those. If not, you could check out those playlists and just go through once, and you will be easy familiar going through it. Now, next one we need to do is, after the end we are going to create a project. So this project would be helpful for your portfolio. You could put it on your resume, but what we are going to do is, basically we are going to create a project using Tkinter module. There is a Tkinter module that provides you a GUI in Python. What we are going to do is, we are going to create simple database that connects to uh, using Python. It connects to the SQL server, and it could update, retrieve, and delete those things using Python. And we will have GUI, which will we will do it uh, through Ticket the program. Now, with this, let's move on to the introduction part. So, why learn SQL? So, when we look at SQL, we first want to know why it's we want to know it, why it's so important. Basically, SQL is very much important because you know that data is 21st century oil. So if it's 21st century oil, we need to store it. We need to get those, like if we need to query some database onto it, we need to get some data. We need to have some management tools so that we could retrieve those data. We could run some analysis on it. We could get idea. And what if you know if I could emphasize on why data management is so much important. uh, you know that those LLM need tons of data, and these tons of data is only available if there is some kind of database available, in which all those database are, like in those all those database, all the contents are there. So you could imagine, imagine that how much influence is on data management is. uh, this is regarding LLM. So if you take any other website, for example, if you take Facebook, tons of people post every day, right? They have billions of users. So if billions of data is generating, we need some kind of tools so that we could store those data, and whenever a user like share those, we want to get some suppose your friends upload some photos and you want to get those. So there could be some kind of a retrieving function, that means to get those photos when you search it. So some kind of retrieving, querying those data when you search, like if you want to search your friend, like suppose your friend name is Saurav and you want to search it. So you go to facebook.com and you search Saurav, and you get tons of names regarding to Saurav, and this is one of way you query those data. And we are going to look at into the deep dive. What is relation database is, basically there is some database linkage between two. So suppose this is your database D1, and it have some column A, B, C, right? Suppose ABC is your column, and you have another database D2, C, F, G. And if you want to connect those two database, how you could connect those? One way is to connect those database is by joining these two connections, right? Because these two connection are same. So if we overlap onto one those set, like commonality, if we overlap, we could easily get all other kind of database. And this is the general view how the database we get, like some kind of database in one sheet we have some kind of database, in other kind of sheet we have some kind of a date, and in each of database we have some kind of linkage connection. We could link it, and we could easily connect through those SQL commands. Now, other let's look at what next reason why to learn SQL. So next reason is career opportunity. So if you look at this graph, let me pen. So if we look at this graph, what do you see? You see that in this, that most of the job sources for data analysis is on is all for SQL. So SQL is one of the primary skill you need for data analysis, and this is, I cannot emphasize how much it's like useful for you if you use no SQL. So because in industry level, when you join any company, IT company, uh, you have lot of database, like lot of database. You won't get those CSV file that you get from Kaggle or any other thing. So what you need to do is you need to create SQL commands to retrieve those uh, data set from the data set from those database, and then you are able to run your Python code onto those, and then you could make analysis onto those, and then you could show user those beautiful graphs, right? uh, Once those are done, then you could take to the next step. You could create those models and all those things you could do, but the first step is to get those data or store those data. This is in case of data analysis, but if you look at the case of software development engineering, and if you look at those, you need to create some kind of a system that you need to you need to store those data, get those data whenever it is called. So suppose you store those data, but you also need to get those data. Suppose Facebook stores all their user data, right? Facebook stores their all those database in the some kind of a database, and once you search, let's say want to search again any post regarding any you search post. So what happens, it creates a query command related to keywords. It search on all efforts database, and uh, whatever it is able to find it, it shows you the list. This is the very simplified way, but they have uh, the complex method. They have like very simplified method that how they do, like any company do. But there are other technology as well, that is GraphQL, that provides you API. I'm just giving you what happens inside those. You don't need to worry if you don't know about GraphQL or all those things. I'm just giving you idea what's happening in the real life industry scenario. And then this API key, whenever you need provide those data name or post, it give you all those related search, like API, like all those detail that you have asked for. So it's different from REST API, GraphQL, and it give you all the relevant data. That's for how you use in SDE. We have look in data analysis SDE. Then you if you need to look at database manager, their all job is to do this, like get those data, store those data, analysis on those data, see that if to create, we need to create a backup as well, right? So what happen if you created this database in which your user, like suppose you created a website in which you stores all the user database onto those, and and suppose uh, there is some kind of failure, right? If suppose you created this database, and suppose someone or might be due to some challenges, this database is gone. Suppose this database is being destroyed, and now what you will do, because not now what your company could do is, you need either you are very intelligent, you already created those database backup, and you are able to retrieve those database. This will help your company to be saved from any other mismanagement. And if you did not do this, like suppose you have only one database and in which all you stores all the user database, and those database are gone, everything would be gone. So you need to create some kind of a management system, so that even if there is lightning or anything, your database is safe. And this is the role of database manager, that does like keeping all the database safe, checking all the database is proof, any null data is not violating, checking there is no any hacks could be done such as SQL injection or XML injection, that we are not going to look at what are those. So basically that one of this thing, and you could also look at this is way more emphasis than Python or R. So how much emphasis is SQL is giving on, as you could imagine, and the need is simple because we are generating too much, like every day billion of data set is generated, and we need to store it and get analysis on it. So let me just get my content back. I think I have removed it, so I will get my content back. So I have mistakenly erased my notes, but I have copied it again. And what we are going to look at, the next point that we are going to look at is the efficient data retrieval. So SQL allows you to efficiently get those data. So if we have to get those data set, right, we can't store them in like simple variable program. If you are into Python, right, you could say I could save those into the variable name and store it, but you know that this variable won't be stored in your drive. Basically, in your the variable that you declare is will be stored in your RAM, and once you restart your CPU or your machine, that data is gone. So we need to store those data in our machine, right, in our drive, that is basically our database in which we need to store. So to access those database, we need some kind of a tool, right, to access those data very quickly. So if you want to get those database, right, in your whenever you search, right, in internet, let's say you search google.com in internet, what happen is it goes to some kind of a database. A better example is, right, we could take is for example Netflix. So for example Netflix, what it does is, suppose you let me go below and go back to pen, and suppose you search on Netflix, you suppose search for your favorite show, right, suppose your favorite show is XYZ, and you search it on the internet, right, on sorry, on the on Netflix, and you want to get the show, right, so what will happen is, basically, get my pen back and I will show you. So you this is on Netflix, you search for your show that is XYZ, and once you search for XYZ, it will it will make an SQL command basically in the backend, and it will search for that particular show, and this needs to be done very fast. So that's fast, like uh, to do this very fast or get this data very fast, SQL is best, yet another method way you could do it in fast way. And there are a lot of other databases as well that are fast in terms of speed, but SQL is one of the way you could do it very fastly, and SQL provides very easy way to store large relationship database. So if you want to do efficient parsing, basically get those database, get retrieval all those database, SQL is one way to go to. Next, we need to do a main thing is used for data analysis, right? We generate lot of, let me repeat again, we generate tons of data, and these tons of data needs to be saved somewhere, right? We can't do like go out like sell like don't care about this database. Why? Because these are 21st century oil. Lot of company have created million billion dollars of data onto those. Basically, if you look at OpenAI, any kind of LLMs, they need trillions of data set. They will pay you billions of amount if you have whole world data set. So because you could train those database, and then you could fit it into every other use case that is done. Similarly, in some startups I've seen that mostly this like they have some kind of database, and they sell to those companies. So basically these are used in pharmaceuticals. Those database are used in pharmaceutical as well. So for example, patient data details, those kind of data set is very useful for data analysis. So in medical it is very useful. So in this you could try to find out patterns and help you for a data driven decision. And this is done in medical kind of view. If you look on to like stock is another kind of thing that is done very much. So whenever you create some algorithm, right, suppose you create an algorithm that buys when there is a dip. So to test your algorithm we need data, like, and what it does, the data contain is basically it contains the basic stock price of previous market, and then we could use our algorithm to test on it. And basically through doing this we have better data analysis, better able to find patterns, and we could easily make better uh, decision onto those, because our decision would be a data driven approach. Next is interoperability. Basically interoperability means how much it is compatible to each other. So basically SQL is compatible with many database system like MySQL, PostgreSQL, Microsoft SQL Server. You could easily connect into those. Most of the DevOps thing like servers provide you those SQL server so that you could set up your database. Now, MySQL, PostgreSQL are the software like you could write SQL commands onto, and it basically contains the database, and through those you could fetch those database. It's basically kind of a server, and which have some kind of database storage, and then we create a SQL script which take those database and runs analysis on it. And we are going to look at those commands in on next few lectures, that how you could do those commands. Now let us look at the next point, that is or SQL scope. What are the scopes in it? So one of the scope is SQL scope is used for is basically data analysis. If you are into the data analysis, you need SQL. Why? Because you need to extract all those database data from, like, all those you need to get some store those database first, and then you need to extract those database, and the SQL is very much crucial for those things. And you could do all those things directly onto the SQL. So if you need some clean data set, you could directly create a SQL command that could provide you clean data set. And it is commonly used by data analysts, scientists, and businesses, intelligence professional, even by industry standards. Large industry, medical, pharmaceutical industry, I've seen those they use R and Python and SQL to make data analysis on lot kind of like disease or any samples. They use SQL for those to store. Then next is database management. SQL is used to create, update, maintain relationship database, and must rely on SQL system ensure data integrity and optimize performance. So next is the reason why data SQL scope lies is in the database management. We generate tons of data. This database needs to be stored, and this is stored in the SQL database, and through the admin of those database server checks every time, right, those database is working, the already backup is done, they are back all like the copy of the leader database is already copied, like being replicated by 3 or 4 times. This is checked by the um, database manager to check if those database are not having any issue or security vulnerability bugs. Those are checked by the administrator of the database. And once you are able to have the efficient database management, right, suppose in your college you are able to set up all those get all the user student details, all the teachers detail, all the faculty details, you are able to manage very easily, because you know, okay, where those data are, where to maintain it, and you can easily update all those database onto those. Basically, suppose if student, in our colleges, basically what happen is, like, there is ERP, right? ERP thing where you have to make login, you have to log in, you could check the amount of fees you have paid, the attendance, all those things. And you might sometime wonder, right, where does this getting this database stored? Basically, in the back end, there is, in the back part, what it is done is, there will be some server in which all those database are, like, all those details are getting stored. And most probably this database is would be in your colleges or in your professional where you are working, or you could connect it with the global remote SQL server through buying through AWS or some kind of server. Now, let us look on to the next point, that is software development. Next, we have to look on to the software development where it is used. So basically, suppose you create an application, right, which is very basic application. Suppose it takes user data, it stores it, right? So you can't store those data into the variables, right, because those data are stored onto the RAM, and once you close or restart the application, those variable are gone. So we need some kind of way to store in this or permanent memory, in which is basically on hard drive or in your memory card. Basically, SQL is used then to store those, and which could be easily fetch or get those database. And it's very much interoperable, and you could use any Python, like programming languages such as Python, Java, C Sharp, to communicate with those database. Big data and cloud services. So these SQL are integrated into those platform. You could use such as AWS, Google Cloud, Azure uh, based cloud service to use the SQL. And you could use big data platform where you could use Hadoop, and cloud service such as AWS provides search query like Google BigQuery, and AWS Athena to query the vast amount of table. So basically, if you created a table and it have large kind of data set, you can use their Google BigQuery and AWS Athena, basically a software where you could do the query and onto the big data set very easily. Now, let's look on to the next thing, that is automation and scripting. So what I mean by automation and scripting, so automation is basically you automate things. So if you are doing some work A, B, C, and you created a file that automatically does the job ABC automatically. So this is known as automation. Basically, you created a script that is able to do all those things. So SQL is used to in script for automating data related tasks such as extraction, transform, load from data warehousing. As a human, you need to be very much efficient, right? So suppose you have a database, you need to extract those database from it, transform it and load onto the basically software, which is known as ATL. And we don't need to deep dive into those, but extraction, transformation, and load. Uh, Once the data is set is load, you could use it for your data analysis thing. But you can't do this every time, right? You can't create go there and create a script, SQL script that does the extraction, then it transform it, and then it's loaded. It will be very much hectic. So what developer generally do is they create the script that automatically runs the command to extract the data set, transform the data set, and load those data set. So you could use easily Python SQL combination to do this, and Python supports. You could also do it with separate file also, or you could do solely with SQL to create a script file that runs and does all those jobs. Next, we need to look at financial and enterprise system. SQL is heavily used in enterprise resource planning, right? So if you are onto some kind of if you know that if you are into big corporate, right, those enterprises need to plan properly, right? And what they do is basically they kind of have some kind of ERP system where you could see those profiles, update those profile, and update their anything. You could retrieve the details of your customer. You could retrieve your details of your workers, and this need some kind of a system. So this is where financial and enterprises is come, basically ERP. You could use this to get and update those data sets. So these are the general scopes of SQL, and if I try to go explain each point in way more, like if I have to go like each point for the scope of SQL, this lecture would be very long. I could take a whole day to explain you that why SQL is important and why it have so much scope. So basically, now let us look at SQL in data science. So right, we need to learn data science and where does it comes into play. So when you go into data analysis, right, you need to get the data first. You need to clean and prepare the data second. Then you train the model. You create some kind of a layer. You can create some kind of a model that runs on those data set. Then you test your data set, and then you improve your data set. You improve your change those parameter to get the correct data set. So the first thing is the get the data set. This is where SQL come. You want to get the data set, right? So you could easily get those data set from SQL. Then you need to get a clean and prepare and manipulate those data set. General method is that once you get the data set, you could directly run SQL or Python commands to clean those data set. Or what you could do is just run those command directly into the SQL. You just create a create update command, and that will give you a clean data set which won't have some like null data set. Even if it have, you could easily remove those any values with those average and other variable. You could easily remove either those data set or added with the mean or average or the median of the data set. And then once we are there, we could see how important it plays in the data science. Basically get the data, clean and manipulate those data set. It is where SQL in data science lies in. Now let us look at the next part, right? It have so much importance in data analysis, and it's only if we look at independently, it have also so much importance. So the next question you might be asking, okay, how do we master it? The only way to master SQL is do lot of practice, and in this course which is we have designed is much more of a practice driven. We are going to look at the theory and the practice as well, how you could practice. So what I will suggest you is when you see this lecture, you try to attempt yourself also. So there would be some challenges in this course that you need to try to attempt. What we are going to do is we are going to look at some lead code SQL commands that we try to update and delete, and those question would be basically cover all those things. And one of the thing is uh, uh, instead of practicing 200 or 1000 SQL code, it is best to uh, practice those 50 codes, and then to practice again and again. Then once you have get a reach of all the concept, like you have got a mental map, then you could easily jump on to other question as well, which won't be a tough because it will be just a variant of those. Basically you just need to master one thing, and then rest of the thing would lie on to your plate. Now you got an idea, okay, how to master SQL. We need to practice more. So in each course we have designed is basically you will have a challenge. Each question like each next module would have question module, and we'll try to solve it together. So once we create suppose we learn create update code, like how to create an update. We will have SQL challenges for you. You try to attempt yourself. Else, don't worry. We are going to solve it together. So this way we are going to try to attempt, or like in this course we try to solve a lot of question in this. And the SQL script won't, like, by the end of this course I hope you won't be scared of the SQL thing, because it would be a second nature to you. So lastly, I forgot one point to include, that was this course is designed if you are into the data science, right? If you are onto the following or previous module, right? The Git GitHub masterclass, Python for data science, our masterclass. This is for module in which we are going to look for SQL, and you could take it as independent course, like SQL as an independent, in which we are going to look at. You don't have to go through all those things, because in the last part where we look at Python and R, there might some challenges that you need to know Python and R. Else, you could take it as an independent course. With this, I am very much excited, and I will hope to see you on to the next lecture. And with this, I sign off. Thank